Okay, guys, so Caleb here. I'm skipping the high, I'm skipping all that. I'm getting straight on into things. So we just got a new eBay update. I know some of you guys love the new eBay feature for their whole listings. Some of you guys aren't too fond of it. For me, I personally really enjoy it. It really helps me for when I'm listing books. So just grabbing this book here. When I'm listing a book that does not have any comps, I can actually list them a whole lot faster now with the new tool. So I like the new tool, but they just did a new feature on the new tool. So remember how we have always only been allowed to do 12 photos, or by always, I mean, as far as I can remember, and I've been in this business for a few years, we've only been able to do 12, and I'm just gonna post a little screenshot right here. Guys, I am excited because now we can do 24. So I know a lot of you, I actually mentioned this in the Used Book Guy's channel. He had a premiere and I mentioned it there. Some of you guys like the entire idea of having 24 photos to do this, and others are like, this is dumb, this is excessive. But for me, I personally really like the idea of having 24 photos. It's going to totally change how I do my business if I do go down that route and do 24 photos. As I said in that premiere video for the live chat that's going on, I was like, personally, I think that I won't do it for most of my books. I will do it for the more expensive ones, especially if there's like something to actually see. But for a lot of people, 24 photos probably isn't the most exciting thing. It's probably like, more work to do. This is dumb. A lot of people don't post any photos, or they only do one photo. Like, I see a lot of listings where they're trying to sell like a $3,000 book or more, and they have one photo, one terrible photo at that. Like, some of these photos, guys, it's like, did you use your phone from 1986? What is this? Before they even had phone cameras. Like, what is this? This is like 1 megapixel. Some of them are so terrible, guys. But for me, I really enjoy, as you guys probably know from watching me, you guys know that I enjoy like making sure that my customers are taken care of. There is an entire, there's 3 things that businesses can do. You can only have 2 in your business. You can't have all 3. It's impossible to have all 3 and be profitable. So one thing is customer service, one thing is a good product, and the other one is prices. So you can have 3. You can't have all 3 though, but you can have 2 as your specialty, and then 1 is like a big time secondary thing, but you cannot have all 3 going on at the same time. In fact, you can specialize in just one hardcore, but the best thing is to do 2 of 3. So for me, you guys know that I personally specialize on the customer service side of things, because I like to make sure that my listings, well, not just customer service, but the product speciality, I guess, I like to specialize on those 2 things. I want my buyers to feel like they are really being treated well. I want them to feel like they are visiting an art museum, basically, when they're buying my books, because I want to be able to share all the information they ask. I want them to know what they're buying entirely. Like, I'm going to grab this book again. So when I'm listing my book, I'm not just going to have photo. Okay, that's the listing. Pay me $500. I want them to see this, and then I'll do this angle. I'll do this angle. Like, I'm going to do quite a few angles. Like, personally, I make sure that I do the front, spine, back, because that's what people see on their books. In addition to that, I make sure that I get one shot at least of the text block. Personally, I like a shot like this or like this, because that lets people see if there's like chunks of pages missing, if signatures. So signatures, let me just grab a pile of sticky notes here. So like one page, you don't have books that have just one page. They have something called a signature, which is a certain amount of pages all connected together. They're folded. They're not sticky noted together, but they're all folded together. And when binding starts failing on books, those signatures can actually come loose. Potentially, you can just have certain pages come loose, but generally you'll see like whole signatures coming loose. Actually, I have some books over there that I should show you guys for that. Another video for that, hopefully. But that is something that I make sure that I do that photo for, is just so people can see if there's terrible pages on the book. In addition to that, it shows off the foxing if there's foxing on the book. In addition, all that though, I make sure that I do up close photos of the damage. So for this book, you guys can see the little black, you can see the red stain, you can see that the silver has worn off. Personally, I suspect that that's maybe not real pure silver, because it still is such a lustrous silver color. Silver is known to tarnish, turn blackish with age, but this definitely could be silver. I know they did gilding back in the day. In fact, do I have any gilding on any books here? I do not. Oh, I failed you guys. I have some gilding on those. But back in the day, they used real gold on books, so I suspect that this at least has some silver in it. But what I like to do is I always like to show off all the damage on these books, because these people, especially when they're paying more money for these books, they want to know what's going on with these books so much of the time. They're not just buying the book to be like, oh, I own a first edition of this and this book. They want a first edition that they can look at, admire, hold, touch, probably like even smell, because there's actually a large group of people that like really enjoy smelling old books. I'm not going to admit that I'm part of that community. Yeah, I mean, what? That was a joke, guys. I do like smelling books, though. I like the smell of old books. I like the smell of new paper, all that sort of stuff. Tire shops, I love the smell of tires. I like the smell of leather. There's a lot of things that just sort of smells good, you know? Brings back good memories of certain things. So for me, like, old books is something I've always enjoyed the smell of. I know, too personal. But I like to show off all those sorts of things. I always make sure I do the title page. I always make sure I do the copyright page. This book doesn't have a copyright page. You see that a lot with books around the turn of the century, so between like the 1880s and 1920s-ish. There is, of course, some wiggle room there, but that's something that I see. Something else that I always make sure to take photo of is like the book itself, and then I like to get a photo like that. And those are just the photos that I normally take on like almost every single book, or actually every single book except for when I do large sets. So large sets like 8 books plus, I'm not able to get photos of every single thing. But with the new limit of 24, I can have a set and I can have a lot more photos of that set so people know what the set is. Or potentially, if, let's just say this book was $30,000, which it is not, I've only had one book worth that much, but if a book's worth $30,000, you better believe that I'm going to actually put work into the listing. I'm not going to post one photo. I'm going to post 24 photos probably for a book that expensive, because let's face it, guys, if I buy a book, like you guys know my multiples, I buy books for $2, and again, I had one that was worth $30,000, so that's a good multiple. So I'm willing to put in the hours, because let's face it, no matter how many hours I put in, I'm still making a good hourly wage with a book like that, you guys know. So for me personally, I do expect that I will be utilizing the 24 photo thing. I really enjoy it. But if you guys are selling other things besides books, I know I should have gotten into this earlier. If you guys are selling stuff like cars, 24 photos, that is so much better than 12 photos. If you're selling something like Pokemon cards, 24 photos probably isn't the best, though. It's like, let me grab my Pokemon card, click, click. Oh, now I need to take 22 more. Click, 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 click. You know, it's like, yeah, luckily you're not required to do the whole 24, but it definitely is something that's nice for some of us who have certain books. And as I mentioned earlier, yeah, I'm not going to do it for a book that's worth $10. I'm not going to do it for a book worth $100 probably. But a book that's worth several hundred or several $1,000s, you better believe that I'm actually going to put in the effort, because whoever's buying that book put in the effort to get the hours worked, to get the money to buy the book. So it's like, listen, if you put in 50 hours to buy this book, I'll put in at least 15 minutes, you know? Like, I do want to make sure that I'm doing the best customer service possible for my customers, because, again, you got to remember that rule of 3. Honestly, I'll probably do a video on that whole 3 different thing rule, just because it's a really interesting concept, and it's something that can really inspire and honestly help your business in the long run if you keep that sort of thing in mind. So, for me, with that said, the thing about 3, my customer service, personally, I don't know if that's my strongest suit. I do know that my pricing, however, is a very good, strong suit for me, because I am able to, because I buy my stuff for so cheap, I'm able to sell them for a whole lot cheaper than everyone else. Like, I don't normally undercut people, but as I told you guys in another video with the Moby Dick one, yeah, I undercut people sometimes. For the time machine that I have mentioned in quite a few videos, because I think it's one of the coolest examples, it was worth $30. I sold it for $6,000, that is. So, yeah, I undercut people a lot sometimes just because I want the sale, because, like, hey, I got a good deal, I'll make sure that my buyer gets a good deal. So, yeah, that might be something that I'm more focused on than customer service, because there's not a whole lot of customer service you can do as an eBay seller. For me, my customer service is make the listing good, which is the product, and then I ship it out and make sure it's wrapped well, which is the product. It's like, okay, so I guess most of that's product, so the only customer service you actually do is basically just like, oh, hi, your question is how much does a 2-pound book weigh? That is 2 pounds. Okay, carry on. Like, there's not a lot of customer service you could do there, so I guess most of my stuff is just the price and the quality of my item, not as much customer service. So I guess I was wrong in the beginning of this video, but that's just something that I personally focus on in my business. And I know it sounds like I'm not an expert now because I just messed up, but whatever, my channel. I'll say whatever I want. So with that said, though, guys, I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that this news update, was able to open your guys' eyes to something cool and new. I don't know when this update was actually rolled out. Like, I was listing books this week, and I just noticed as I was listing, I think on Monday, or maybe it's Tuesday. I don't know, somewhere in there. I was like, wait a minute. 24? What? Because for me, I actually have quite a few books that I've taken more than 12 photos for, and I've had to like select certain ones because there were so many things that I wanted to show off about particular books. But now that I have 24 photos to do it, it's like, oh, yes, the wiggle room I've always prayed for. I can finally show people what I want with these books, which for me, I personally like, as I said, because I can sell some pretty prestige books sometimes, and I don't want someone buying a really expensive book and then turning to a certain page and be like, oh, there's a stain on this page. I know he mentioned it in the description, but the stain is yellow, and I don't like yellow. If it's a brown stain, like, there's always some people that have some weird things, and I just want them to know everything about the book before they get the book, So I feel like photos is one of the best ways to do that, because remember the whole thing, picture's worth 1,000 words, so people check out pictures over description like 90% of the time, so with all that said and done, though, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for other eBay news updates, because eBay rolls out really cool things sometimes without telling us. And be sure to check out one of my other videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one.